Live from NBC4 in Los Angeles, this is Primetime News LA with Colleen Williams and Chuck Henry.
Now, we've got a number of great stories for you tonight, including our big story tonight, which has to do with rock and roll treasures. These are photographs, letters, sheet music, all kinds of things that have never been seen before. Tonight, you're going to see them for the first time, and if you're a Beatle fan tonight, you're in for something truly special.
Also, he is one of the top QBs out there, quarterbacks playing for the Chargers, but there's so much more to this guy. Philip Rivers talks football one-on-one with Andy Adler.
So let's get right to our big story tonight. And if you ever wanted a reason for saving, scraps of paper, photographs, and things like this, this is the reason you should. Because there is a woman here in Southern California who has been saving this stuff for nearly 4 decades now. And what she discovered, she has an amazing treasure. We call it a rock and roll treasure. Take a look. The British invasion. The Beatles. And she told me what to say. And the Rolling Stones. Their music, their fashion, and their swagger. Rock and roll's first supergroups took America by storm in the 1960s, changing the cultural landscape of American youth.
I was just in awe of all the beautiful people, and they were just our friends. It was amazing.
Now, almost 50 years later, like a mirage emerging from a desert oasis, this Southern California woman has answers to questions that rock fans have been asking for decades. And that it's just page after page. The answers lie within photo albums full of rare Polaroids, lyrics, letters, and recordings, items the public has never seen until now.
I met Jesse in '66 in L.A.
64-year-old Patti Daley was the ultimate rock and roll insider. The love of her life, Jesse Ed Davis, was one of the greatest unsung guitar heroes in rock and roll.
He was just the most subtle, tasty guitar player. When rock and roll was really happening, everyone loved his playing and sought after him to play on their records.
Legends like all the Beatles, members of the Rolling Stones, Rod Stewart, the Faces, and more all enlisted Davis's skill on his trademark Fender Telecaster.
I hear him still on the radio. I'll listen to the old stations, and it's wonderful. It makes my heart smile.
For more than a decade, she toured the world with Jesse and her young son Billy, not only bearing witness, but also documenting what is now a legendary time in pop culture.
It's amazing. We're looking at these photos, but these aren't prints that were taken. These are the original photos that you have kept for all these years.
A mother, armed with a Polaroid camera, Patti took candid one-of-a-kind pictures of icons in rock.
I just kept my Polaroid camera on me all the time. It was in my person.
From a young Mick Jagger and Charlie Watts.
Mick's just a baby in that one.
Yeah, he's young.
To a carefree Ronnie Woods before he joined the Stones. To a series of Beatle photos post the breakup, many taken during John Lennon's Lost Weekend. In 1973, Lennon separated from his wife Yoko and began an 18-month relationship with his secretary May Pang, a relationship Yoko reportedly initiated. And the couple spent quite a bit of time here at this Santa Monica beach house. Lennon later referred to this time as his lost weekend.
This picture is John in the morning at the Santa Monica Beach House having his cup of tea. That's my son played backgammon with Ringo, always out by the pool.
But perhaps the rarest set of photos she owns are 2 Polaroids of Paul McCartney playing a piano inside Lennon's beach house in 1974. It was their first meeting since the Beatle breakup in 1970.
It's incredible. It's incredible. I mean, a lot of these things are things you've only read about.
We showed the items to Chris Carter, host of Breakfast with the Beatles, the longest-running Beatle radio program in the United States.
Just amazing, I saw a picture of, Mickey Dolenz like climbing up a hill, and, a picture of Keith Moon on the shag carpet. These are rock icons, and these are pictures no one's ever seen.
Amazingly, Patti's treasure includes more than just photos. Handwritten cards from George Harrison and John Lennon, personal notes from historic recording sessions, all signed by the musicians who were there, and the potential mother lode. John Lennon's lyrics from his Walls and Bridges recording sessions, including what is believed to be his handwritten lyrics to his only #1 song.
Whatever gets you through the night, it's all right.
That's John's writing, and it's whatever gets you through the night.
So when he was recording the song, he'd be reading off this.
Yes, he'd put it in the podium and sing.
And then when they were done with the recording session,
I just walked by.
I love this. He just comes up the podium and okay.
I don't think
And he didn't
minded.
care.
As for Patti, she's not sure what she'll do with her treasure. She admits, though, that it was an incredible time in her life, and now she wants to share it with the world.
What a wonderful life you've had. Do you realize that?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, very, very lucky. Very, very.
I feel very privileged to have met the people I've met and heard the music I've heard.
She is such a sweet woman, and Patti and her boyfriend Jesse, they broke up in the kind of late 70s. He continued to play with a lot of great rock and roll bands until his death in 1988.
We are live in Burbank right now, and you are watching Primetime News LA. We're back in just a minute.
Now, joining us now is Chris Carter of Breakfast with the Beatles, which is on KLOS and Sirius XM satellite radio. First of all, I want to thank you for helping us with the story on the rock and roll treasures.
My pleasure.
Thanks,
My pleasure.
Chris.
It's quite a treasure trove, isn't it?
No kidding, it was a treasure trove. People see this and they think it's got to be worth millions. Is it worth that much in terms of money, or is it intangible, what we found here?
I think it's worth what it's worth to whoever wants it. You know what I mean? I mean, there are Beatle collectors out there, there are Stones collectors out there, that this might be priceless for them, you know?
Hey, Chris, what did you find most interesting? Now, actually, Chris has seen some additional material that you'll see tonight at 11 and again on Monday.
Yeah. Well, you know, we've been reading about this stuff for so many years. The picture of Paul McCartney by himself at the piano at the beach house was really interesting to me, because here's this whole group of people, John Lennon included, and Paul kind of leaves the group and starts to play the piano. And you've read that in so many books, May Pang's especially, and to see it was just it's quite special.
Talk to us about the significance of the Lost Weekend. Chuck talked about that a lot in the piece. What do you know now that you didn't know before?
Well, you know, when you look back at it, it's an interesting period in John's life, because after the Beatles broke up, you know, in 1970, he really went through a bunch of different phases, and when he came out here to Los Angeles, it was the most reported that John had, you know, really started getting in the papers and started hanging out with rock people who he hadn't really done that prior to this. So it was an interesting period, 74.
Rock people like Mickey Dolenz,
Keith Moon, Alice Cooper, Harry Nilsson he befriended at this point and produced an album of his called Pussycats. You know, the usual LA crowd. And it was a first for John, because he really wasn't that kind of a guy, you know, prior to that.
And there's a very famous letter. In fact, we're going to use this as a tease to our 11 o'clock, because I think of all the things I saw, I like this the most. That was the one from two Capitol Records by John Lennon.
About the rock and roll music album.
Yeah.
He wasn't too pleased with it. It was an amazing letter, because Capitol put out all the Beatles records in the 60s. And the Beatles never really knew what they were going to be. Capitol kind of made these titles up. So here he was writing a letter to the same label that put out all the 60s records, saying, you're going to do the same thing to us in the 70s with this god-awful cover.
And it turned out to be a terrible cover.
Yeah,
it really did. It was a bad one.
Yeah.
Is that the music that Michael Jackson bought?
Well, Michael Jackson, bought the entire Beatle catalog.
Down the road.
Yeah.
So, Chris Carter, thank you very, very
My
much
pleasure.
for joining us on
Thanks
our
for having
show.
me.
And coming up tonight at 11, you're going to see more of that letter that we talked about to Capitol Records. Probably my favorite piece out of the entire collection. That's tonight at 11 o'clock.
All right, we're going to take a quick break here. We'll be back with more Nate Berkus when we come right back.